While growing up, we knew of different seasons and seasonal changes. But since past few years, we have been hearing of whole climate changing and also witnessing one after another natural calamities. So what exactly is climate change and how is global warming practically affecting our lives? Starting from latest, the Himachal landslides, untimely rains, a cold month of May to typhoon Biporjoy of India, the Libya floods which killed more than 20,000 people while displacing above 20,000 more, the Auckland flash floods, the serial volcanic eruptions like Mauna Lui and others, and also the massive Turkiye-Syria earthquake killing over 50,000 in January this year. The threat of human doomsday has become more real than ever. Remember the Hollywood science fictions predicting our extinction? Well, if climate change is not addressed soonest with effective measures, the extinction threat could very well become very real very soon.
That's why the big nations are now huddling up to figure out the counter climate change measures. The recently concluded very successful G20 summit in New Delhi saw top leaders of the world drawing consensus over allocating the long promised $100 billion fund by the developed nations to the developing nations to combat the ever-growing threat of climate change. Experts say the fund figure could very well now run into $1 trillion. Whenever we talk of climate change, we also talk of global warming in the same breath. So what exactly is global warming and how is it leading to climate change? In simple terms, just like our body temperature goes up when we are sick, the Earth's temperature is also going up. Due to changes in sun's activity, large volcanic eruptions and human activities, which have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas, Earth is also getting hotter. And so glaciers are melting faster, leading to natural disasters and catastrophes like floods and heavy rains. Now, while sun's heat and volcanic eruptions may not be easily tameable, but activities like burning fossil fuels can definitely be monitored and controlled. Understanding how burning of fossil fuels, firewood and burning anything in general or overconsumption of natural non-renewable resources is accelerating global warming could help us understand its long-term effect on the blue planet's Earth and get the big picture. So what happens when we burn natural non-renewable resources like fossil fuels? Well, a lot. According to research, burning fuels generates greenhouse gas emissions that act like a blanket wrapped around the Earth, trapping the Earth's heat and raising temperatures. The greenhouse effect in a nutshell is when gases like carbon dioxide, methane trap heat in the atmosphere of Earth, raising its temperature. The main greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane are majorly causing the climate change. These come from using gasoline for driving a car or coal for heating a building. For example, clearing land and cutting down forests can also release carbon dioxide. According to United Nations, agriculture, oil and gas operations are major sources of methane emissions. Energy industry, transport, buildings, agriculture and land use are among the main sectors causing greenhouse gases. That's why the emphasis on clean and green energy is gaining momentum by leaps and bounds. According to the United Nations, the average temperature of the Earth's surface is now about 1.1 degree warmer than it was in late 1800s. Shockingly, this is the warmest Mother Earth has been in past 100,000 years. In fact, the meteorologists have cited that the last decade, that is, the period between 2011 to 2020, was the warmest on record, and each of the last 4 decades has been warmer than any previous decade since 1850. Over a long period of time, understanding the permanent damage being done to nature by the selfish consumption of natural resources, baby steps towards controlling, ultimately aiming at pausing the intake of natural non-renewable resources like coal, that took millions of years to form were implemented. There was a big reason why several coal-run engines and factories were forced to convert into fuel-run models, and now the focus is on harvesting the solar energy for running many heavy-duty engines and factories. Because unlike fossil fuels, the solar energy is not only pollution-free, but it is also inexhaustible, making its large-scale implementation a must to control the global warming and thus the climate change.
Now, many people think climate change mainly means warmer temperatures, but temperature rise is only the beginning of the story. The consequences of climate change now includes, among others, intense droughts, water scarcity, severe fires, rising sea levels, flooding, melting polar ice, catastrophic storms, and declining biodiversity.
The recent floods of Libya, the incessant rains of Himachal, the Pakistan floods in December last year are some of untimely calamities, raising alarm on how global warming and melting of glaciers, if overlooked, is going to affect our lives. Understanding the urgency of the impending doom, in 2015, the Paris Agreement was inked to control the rising temperature in COP21 summit held in Paris. So far, India is the only country that has fulfilled its duties towards the agreement of cutting down overall carbon emissions. The agreement's goal is to hold the increase in the global average temperature to well below 2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels and pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degree above pre-industrial levels. The G20 nations, which represent 85% of global economy, recently signed the Biofuels Alliance in the recently concluded G20 summit in New Delhi. More additions are expected in the COP28 climate conference coming up soon in December in Dubai.
In the coming episodes, we will minutely decode the various alliances, conferences, official and humane steps needed and ones already taking place to counter the big climate change. In the meantime, plant a sapling if you can and do your bit to combat global warming. After all, it's your earth, your family, your future. Stay tuned for more.